Good evening. Welcome to the Creative Salon. My name is Bonnie Zindel, and I'm speaking to you from New York City. I'm a psychoanalyst in private practice here in Manhattan. I'm a writer, and I run writing groups. And I started the Creative Salon about 12 years ago when it was live. Remember that time when it was live. And mostly was for psychoanalysts to do their work and do their poetry, and it would have a place for them. But soon we did everybody, and actually it became richer when we had opened it up to everybody. The theme for tonight is going to be about the pandemic and what we have done in there creatively, our experience. People are going to present poems and short stories. There'll be people in New York, and there'll be people in California and in between. And there'll be people in different parts of the world. And I think it's going to be wonderful. So I hope everyone really enjoys it. You know, before we start, I would just like to just mention the Ukraine and the people in Ukraine and the courage, the raw courage that they seem to have and how difficult it's been. And so what I did was I went to read some Ukrainian poetry and Ukrainian books. If people are interested, you could go online and find some of the poetry that people, I think they want their voice heard. While I was doing that, I came across this man named Sergei Shakan. Now, that's how I say it. I'm sure he does not pronounce it like that. He's 48, and he's a rock star poet in the Ukraine. When he does a reading, he has over 1,000 people come to his readings. He wrote this, I'm just reading you a stanza of something he wrote about the Crimean War, but it was really about the resistance. And so it's just about 5 lines. Okay. How did we build our house when standing under winter skies and the heavens turn and sail away? You know, you've got to live somewhere where you aren't afraid to die. So I would like us for a moment to, before we start the evening, we're going to look at a clip for about 30 seconds. And it's in a bunker with a mother and some children and rockets flying over, and they're singing the national anthem of Ukraine. And maybe we could start with that.
Дивляться кани, серце в них перелю, хай розкажуть кохання, привіт.
Okay, thanks. It's amazing how poetry and art and music can kind of help us through some hard times. And so I think maybe we could remember that when some people are presenting. There is a healing quality in art. So, and to begin now, the first person of our evening, Susan Klatt.
Thank you, Bonnie, for inviting me to share my experience living and working during COVID-19 through my poem, Shattered Lives and Deepened Relationships. Cold winds whip across my face, squinted eyes focus closely on what appears to be a snow-covered lawn. It is 950,000 white flags flapping in the wind, a wind that howls loudly like the cries of lost souls. Chills penetrate my entire being. Warm tears stream down my cheeks. Reflecting on supervision of a young analyst in distress, distant across the screen. Reaching, I provide a secure holding. Sadly, he speaks of her distraught patient, inconsolable, guilty of murder. A hardworking nurse, asymptomatic, passed COVID-19 onto her beloved grandmother. A young analyst reaches and holds her patient from across a screen. Shared trauma. A deadly pandemic storm swept across the world and swiftly stole a child, a spouse, a parent, a friend, a sibling, my colleague. Unimaginable collective despair left in its aftermath. High and intense patient caseloads. We hold each other in peer consultation group from across the screen. Nourished, we find light in the darkness. Our relational home provides solace, hope, strength, resilience, and growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That was touching. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Next is Juliet June. Is she here?
Hi, Bonnie. Hi, everyone.
Oh, hello. Hi.
My name is Juliette. I'm French and I live in France. I'm an artist and I will read my poem, which has been written very recently, a few days ago. I will read it in French and then in English. Il m'a dit. Il m'a dit, la lumière sculpte la matière. Il m'a dit, la lumière sculpte la matière. La lumière sculpte nos corps de terre, moisissure en érection, mousse de coton rose et projection cardiaque. Cœur, courage, pile de l'univers, le temps qu'il bat, le temps d'une danse, ou deux, ou trois. Mon grand-père fait des prolongations. Et tandis que les chars débarquent en Ukraine, je gonfle des ballons. 0, 0, 1 siècle, conformément à la loi de son destin. Et moi, je fais des shampoings d'herbe en espérant la paix. Au cas où ce serait le dernier, je ris un peu plus fort pour couvrir le son des bombes. Mon pied est Poutine. L'aimerais-je moins? On m'a dit qu'une fois amputé, on sent encore son membre, comme un être cher disparu et qui scintille toujours à côté de la sœur cadette sur la photo de famille. Il m'a dit, la lumière sculpte la matière, dessine la crête des montagnes, décrasse la peau en mouvement. Encore 15 minutes, Farmer, plutôt 30. On va y arriver. La route s'affine, les flaques se forment, à mesure que la pluie s'estompe. Le matin, lui, sur le bitume qui s'allonge un peu plus vite. À chaque virage, je me soulève un peu plus vite. La lumière sculpte la matière, il m'a dit. Il m'a dit, la lumière sculpte la matière. Et je l'ai cru. He told me light shapes matter. He told me light shapes matter. Light shapes our bodies, our earth bodies, erect mold, pink cotton foam, and cardiac projection. Heart, courage, battery of the universe. The time it beats. Time for dance, or 2, or 3. My grandfather goes into extra time. And while the tanks enter Ukraine, I inflate balloons. 0, 0, 1 century, according to the law of his destiny. And I make weed shampoos hoping for peace. In case it is the last one, I laugh a little louder to drown out the sound of the bombs. My foot is Putin. Would I like it less? I was told once that Once amputated, you can still feel your limb, like a missing loved one who still sparkles next to the younger sister in the family picture. He told me light shapes matter, draws the mounted ridge, scrubs the skin in motion. Another 15 minutes, Grandma, rather 30. We will get there. The road narrows, puddles form as the rain fades. The morning shines on the tarmac, which lengthens a little more, a little bit faster. With each turn, I lift myself a little more, a little bit faster. Light shapes matter, he told me. He told me light shapes matter. And I believed him.
You show the picture now. Juliet, that was so beautiful. Thank you. You in the Pyrenees? Are you in the Pyrenees? You didn't tell us that, right? And the pictures, is that from the Pyrenees? Is that the Pyrenees? Thank you so much. In French and English, merci beaucoup. Thank you. Terence McLeod. Hi.
Hello.
I have to say, I have known you for so many years through our writing and through your writing. I've never seen you before, your face.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Terence McLarnon, and I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. And I am, in this order, an artist, a poet, and a psychoanalyst. And my poem is entitled Mondays No More. I wrote it in the memory of Tom Richardson, who was a poet and a painter and a pal. Sitting by this open window at the news of his death, it was all sky and no color. I removed my glasses thinking, he won't come back to our Monday mornings again, be among us and sit to my left. His novelty created new feelings with Thomasian honesty in so few words. I admired his dexterity. His talents were built quietly, a brush stroke at a time, though I suspect he'd dance with Tweedledum and Tweedledee if he had the chance. But nature is an executioner and asks for no forgiveness. I know this, so I don't ask. I like to think he's on a crusade to a holy land of his own. I slip out with the low tide to follow his view and hail to him. As I lower the shade to end my day, I think, it doesn't matter what soothes the soul, even when it's concealed from the eye. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, the next person we're doing is very unusual. Her name is Rachel Aimee. She's from Scotland. She's the only person who's on tape because she was planning on doing this and she couldn't make it. But when you see her speak, you'll see why that she had to be a part of this. You know, because there's something about us being alive here together, which is very dynamic and alive, right? It's very exciting. So she's the only person on tape. I asked her to send a poem and she sent 2 poems, and asked me to choose one, and you know I couldn't choose one. So we're going to listen to both.
Hello, I'm Rachel. I'm based in Edinburgh, and I write, and I also work as a sign language interpreter. And I'm sorry I can't be here this evening, and thank you very much to Bonnie for allowing me to send in a recording of the poem. So thank you very much. So I'm here, and I have my yellow and my blue for Ukraine, and I'm going to read a poem, a lockdown poem called Inside. Tulips breathe in my kitchen, red against the tiles, huddled corner kin, glass near glass, ready to hold their own in the busyness of the day. Daffs on another sill, braving slowly from the arched keep of closure to full braying in the sun, all song loosed to the sky. Yesterday there were people here. We sat into the night, spoke of loss, laughed, remembered rules and chose to place them to one side, an exchange. And today, this morning, those flowers, stems hold that air of company. They are people strong, companions of the vase, as we glance, as we gaze from the windows. Outside, and it is for my parents and my grandparents who would know the words that I don't know. The tree that holds the storm holds me, and I, who had no need for names, would use them now. The tree who holds the storm holds me, and I, who had no need for names, would use them now. The bird I stumble is black and white. It flies like this. It lives beneath the eaves. You know the one. You'd know the one. The tree that holds the storm holds me, and I, that had no need for names, would use them now. The clouds I saw today are the ones that hover, or the ones that scurry, the ones that hide themselves away. The tree was the one whose leaves are shaped like this, whose bark is smoother than mine. The watercourse, it runs like so, it curves, it. Tree, I say. Bird, cloud, bark, stream, may I call you friend? I only ask your name in hope of seeing you, of meeting you again. Thank you. Lots of love to all.
She could call me friend.
Lovely, lovely.
So beautiful. So beautiful. See why, how would you pick? Which would you pick, you know? Well, thank you, Rachel. Next is Maggie Bloomfield. We can't hear her.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm really happy to be here this evening. I sort of sneaked in at the last minute, thanks to Bonnie, and my poem has more to do with coming out of COVID and getting back into life. It's called Rippin' It. I grow tired of connection. I crave collision. I want to crash into love, lust, passion, to shake from my gut in an earthquake of laughter, to soak a linen handkerchief with tears of pure gratitude and wring out racking sobs of grief. I want to win big, fall hard, land on my keister with a rough bump, excoriate those who hurt me, suffocate those who love me with grisly hugs. I want to jump into a cold pool and feel my blood dance. Leap out, grab the biggest pencil in the world, and write a sonnet that would make Shakespeare lose his shit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the hope and getting out of all of this, Maggie. Okay, Sam. Mannequin, Sam. Hi.
Yeah. Thank you, Bonnie, for reaching out this year again. I'm going to present a poem which I wrote during the initial Corona days, when a lot of health workers were dying. And one of the doctors who was serving so many patients were not even allowed to, people in the community didn't allow to bury the body. So their body had to be transported to different places to find a place for the burial. And also acknowledging the efforts of the healthcare workers. There were flowers being showed from sky, but in the ground there were people on the streets. So that's when I thought of reflecting on that and wrote this poem. I did not stay home, though I was asked to. I could not stay home as I had to take care. I was out there around the home where you stayed. I'm not sure whether you spotted me. I saw the flowers that came from the sky, showered to honor the caring hearts and hands. I looked for the nectar as the petals came down, and it fell on the empty plates of those living on the streets. I wished to care and stay with the roofless. I did not want to dare, as they would distance me. I buzzed here and there. Season and weather did not hinder. I had plenty to gather as many stayed home. I stayed home in the night, and what I stored is safe. I worked hard when you stayed safe home. I'm aware you cannot take my treasure now. I remain as calm as I used to be. I wish the whole world to be well as I care for you. I'm unsure of the changes that can occur. And if honey can be a cure tomorrow, I still remain calm, working hard, caring for you. A poem of Honeybee Corona Care. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Could you tell us where you're from? Someplace I can't even say the name.
Oh, I'm from India. I'm a clinical psychology. I was a clinical psychology professor. I had gestalt therapy training too. I come from a place called Kerala. That's the southernmost state in India. But after lockdown, I was stuck in another place called Tamil Nadu. It's a state of Tamil Nadu. I live with my daughter, who is a doctor, who's a psychiatrist. And she had to go to the hospital when this corona was going, and we were all in the same house because we couldn't move out. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for
Yeah,
being a part.
welcome. Yeah.
Hi. Okay, thank you. So now we have Jamie Zubari, but I think people who know him call him Zuby. Is that right?
Hello. Yes, they do call me Zubi. I am Jamie Zubairi, and
You're in
live
London.
I live in London, and I'm an actor, a writer, and a poet. And thank you to Bonnie for reaching out and asking for contributions for this event. I remember it last year. It was so lovely to be included. And this is something that I wrote last year, so after the first event. So yeah, it's called All the Unbeknowing. All the people that you meet in the ether or on the street are all the aged and the youth. Every clicking of the buttons, every minuscule decision, does it bring you closer to your truth? All the unbeknowing, all the words unflowing, all distracting us from what is real. Turn off the wire, come by the fire, sit in circles of loving feel. We are all overstimulated, from the cashiers blinking tirelessly to the worst case scenarios that are simulated, filling electronic forms that have us tied in knots, to the passions pixelating firelessly, and it's us that have to prove we're not robots. All the unbeknowing, all the words unflowing, all distracting us from what is real. Turn off the wire. Come, sit by the fire. Sit in circles of love and feel. And I have a song by Ricky Lee Jones. Hold me, love, I can't sleep again. Will I have to kiss your lips? I don't want to lay here next to you alone. I remember walking in the rain. Rain was falling on my hands. I want to live through that again alone. Outside, it hardly gets dark now. Lovers walking in the park now. Children singing songs of things that make all our dreams come true. I'm in love with you. It only takes love. Love is a healing thing. When you give everything you love in the world gives you love to hold on to. Remember me when summer is over. Somewhere over there, remember, just give me many chances, I'll see you through it all. Just give me time to learn to crawl. In September, when the rain comes and the wind blows, I will see you walking in your coat, oh. And if you left me, I will keep you here inside the stars. I would love the sound of my sheets. Oh, you have moved beneath them. Just give me many chances, I'll see you through it all. Just give me time to learn to crawl. Just give me many chances, I'll see you through it all. Just give me time to learn to crawl. Time to learn to crawl. Time to learn to crawl.
Shubi, that was great. So beautiful. Thank you so much. Bye in London. It must be late there.
It is, and in France and in India, I suspect.
Oh,
It's even
I
late.
know. No, in France, right? We didn't discuss that. What time is it there now?
In London, it's
2 o'clock.
yeah,
Oh, Julie at 2 o'clock. It's so a little late. Thanks for staying up for us. Okay, so now, bye. So now we have Elizabeth Bernowski.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First, thank you so much, Bonnie, for arranging this wonderful event and for inviting me.
Oh, thank you. Babi?
I'll read 2 short poems. The title of the first one is a reference to Gabriel Garcia Marquez's novel, Love in the Time of Cholera. And the next to last line is in the voice of my patient. I'm a poet and a psychoanalyst in New York. The second poem refers to an experience during the second year of our pandemic. Okay. In the time of COVID, my patient asks how much longer we will be sitting across the room from each other wearing masks. She is sure she has not misplaced her trust by believing in the value of my views. She has seen, I understand her differently, that we two make some sense of her family and her moods, her strangely normal seeming history, and its emotional violence. She's 14. She no longer believes in God's plan or that her grandparents will wait for her in heaven. But this one will figure it out. I know it. And she waits for my answer. Okay, and this is the second one. April 2021. Spring. I leave my chair and couch and wander out, mask down, to reinstate my world. Thousands of flower faces and petal cups, yellow and magnolia, violet and white. One white dog, little fluff ball, prancing the park.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We just found out we live on the same street, right?
Yes, that's right, across the street.
That's
That's a coincidence, right?
really, that is. It's so good. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so next, Adele Aaron Greenspan. Is Adele here? Oh, hi.
Sorry. Okay. I'm Adele Greenspan. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I wrote an essay which you chose, and I read it to you now. From my earliest childhood days until my mother died when I was 19, she said, I cried all the time. You made my life miserable from the day you were born. You didn't even want to be born. When I was a baby, she left me alone in my crib. No one was home. I went out of the house to go shopping. When I returned, you were crying uncontrollably in the crib. You cried and cried, she shouted as if reliving the long ago moment. I couldn't get you to stop crying. With exasperation, she said, finally, I held a pillow over your face. Then you stopped crying. I was bad for crying. The kitchen was a scary place when she held a knife. I'm going to kill you. Who is going to want you when your own mother can stand to look at you? I had no self-confidence. When I was 11, my father was a patient at the Jewish hospital, and I was given special permission to visit, even though the age was 16. Suddenly, after the visit, I was sent to live with my mother's sister, Aunt Leah. After 4 days, I was told I was going to Camp Birchmere, where my brother had been sent a few weeks earlier. On July 3rd, 1950, Aunt Leah took me to the bus station in Center City to board a bus alone. My trunk mysteriously arrived. Aunt Leah said, "Your mother's on the phone." How did she know I was here? "I want to say goodbye," she said. "Mountain air is good." "How's Daddy?" I asked. She hesitated. The same. The same meant my father was still in the white hospital bed where I visited him. "Don't cry, Mom." Afraid to ask why she was crying, afraid she would cry more. For many decades, therapists said, "Your mother was mentally ill." I never believed them. During the COVID shutdown, I joined a Zoom writers group led by a therapist and an editor. At the second session, a prompt was given. Write about something that has bothered you and continues to bother you. I wrote, "God damn it, why did you lie to me? Always lied to me. My father was dead and you told me he was alive." Suddenly, I believed my mother was mentally ill. And still, self-confidence rose. I am beautiful. I love myself. I am free. My mother was mentally ill.
Wow. Pretty powerful stuff. And here you are,
Right here.
writing, right? Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we have now Mira Atkinson. Mira, she's from Australia. Hi.
Hi, Bunny. Thanks for inviting me to join in today. And thank you to Judith Litt, our mutual friend who connected us, who I believe is here. Hi, Judith. So yes, my name is Mira Atkinson, and I'm zooming in from the lands of the Gadigal and Wangal people of the Darug Nation, otherwise known as Sydney, Australia. It is lunchtime here. So I'm a literary writer, a creative writing teacher, and an interdisciplinary researcher specializing in trauma and affect theories. So I've worked as an adjunct and sessional lecturer on short semester-based contracts at universities like NYU Sydney and University of Sydney for a little bit over a decade. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the global trend toward mass casualisation in general and very intensely in the tertiary sector, which means that a lot of incredibly qualified and deserving people are sort of perpetually sidelined in the sessional ranks, and I am one of them. So many years of job and financial insecurity led to this poem, Precarious, which was published just before COVID-19 hit. And yeah, so I think you're probably also aware, and you've probably been seeing people at the front lines of this to some degree, although many people casually employed can't afford therapy. But the bottom line is that the precariat class across the world, around the world, has really suffered disproportionately during the pandemic on various fronts. and more so than those with job security. And mass casualisation has also been a part of the picture of driving transmissions. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see this, this poem as I read, because although it's very, very short, it's quite complex in form, and it has some footnotes, which I have moved up on the page so that you can see them more readily and connect them to the main body. So I'll read the poem, and I'll just leave the visual print version up for another minute after that so that you can catch up with the footnotes, because it doesn't really work reading the footnotes as I read. I hope that makes sense. So I'll share my screen in a second. I just also want to mention that I run a mentoring business specialising in supporting people writing hybrid texts and also trauma narratives. So I've just added a little link beneath the poem in case you have clients or connections or interest yourself in working with me. So hold tight and I will get my poem up and share my screen. Precarious. In the heat and the heavy, I'm a pack horse work machine, mixing metaphors and making ends, meeting a tired reflection in shop windows. Walking fills the gaps, driven and drained, all love and anguish. Body holds the casual cruelty, longing for poems like lost lovers, for magic that tricks and slips, the daily grinding, the inside, outside, on the street moments that refuse sense-making. But listen, there is no such thing as security, only annual leave and sick days and super and savings, and here where large sections of the workforce live in fear, all charging at us. I cannot get a bank loan, but my white skin does me favours, and I'm counting fortunes like running water, and I'm made of water, and water remembers violence. Okay, to stop sharing my screen now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mira. Thank you so much for sharing this. Appreciate it. Bye. Now we have Juliana Appello-Per. She is in Berlin. Oh, Juliana. Oh,
Hi, hi.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
speaking to you from Berlin, and it's nighttime, so I'm a bit tired, and I'm delighted to be here. Can you hear me all right? Okay. I'm a psychologist. I'm a relational and integrative Gestalt psychotherapist. I've developed my own ways of working body-oriented, and I'm in my own practice in Berlin. And I want to read you something, and the words came to me. Finding my feet. Who is online? My eyes feel. My nose is out of duty. My heart overflows. My skin feels touched. Do I have feet? Where are you? How are you doing? We want to move. We need other feet. breathing them in, close, closer, without thinking, being grounded, sharing real ground together. How is the woman doing in her online square? How is she coping? Her feet move her to digest. With every step, she comes closer to her inner girl who wanted a papa, and now her dad died. Moving inwards, moving outwards. How long is a line to hold me? How much ground is there? With my feet and a longer line, I want to reach out to you and to say hello.
And so, okay. Is that over, right, Juliana?
Yes.
I just want to say hello back. Hello.
Vielen Dank.
Oh, I'm so touched. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Juliana. So now we have Sarah Ampudia, right? Did I say your name right?
That's right. Yes.
Mexico City, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. So hi, my name is Sarah Ampudia. I'm a psychotherapist in private practice, formerly in Brooklyn, and I've moved to Mexico City in the pandemic. So now here I am. And this is a piece that I wrote. When the pandemic hit, the abuse got too severe for me to survive. Quarantine took away my ability to come up for breath, and I was suffocating. I was to shelter in a place where I couldn't breathe. It wasn't long before I decided, in spite of everything, that I needed to get the fuck out of there. I left her on a Tuesday night. I came to therapy on a Wednesday. I came in reeling. I think I left. What does that mean? My therapist told me not to worry about that just now, but first, how does it feel? How does it feel? It felt good. It felt really good to look out over the water onto the city and to know that I was free. We are strong and brave women, Anna says, 1 year later, as we stand in front of our full-length mirror, needles poised to plunge feminizing hormones into our abdomens. We are attempting double reciprocal in vitro fertilization. Her huevito, her little embryo, transferred to my uterus and mine to hers. 2 women making babies together with science and with love. In our still early pandemic dating, Anna and I were reluctant to touch. And so we dated without touching, allowing the tension to build, until finally we grasped fingers across a picnic table in the park. Anna gasped, "Oh, it feels so good." Later, I told my therapist, "I'm definitely in love. I know what love is. I don't need you to save me from this one. She said, I believe you. I proposed to Anna under the Brooklyn Bridge on our first anniversary, looking over the water onto the city, knowing that I was free. I've lived 2 different pandemic stories, one of getting the fuck out of there, and one of building a life with the woman who I love. The pivotal turn was my therapist's question, how does it feel? Which means that there is a third story, a story of how a whole life can turn on the captain's wheel of that question that is so central to therapy. I am moved to get to ask that question every day. And I am moved to be asked that question still, to have her listen to my answers, to listen to my own answers, to feel both my hands firmly on that big wooden wheel, and to steer.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing you like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for receiving.
Bye. Thank you. So now, next is Carolina Lembernave, right? Tina from Macedonia.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. Can you hear me?
Yes, where are you?
Yeah. Okay, I am from Macedonia. It's 2:00 here.
Oh, here you are.
Yeah, and 30 minutes.
Yeah. What did you say? What time is it?
2:30 in the morning, early in the morning. So I want to say thank you because I'm with my poem in this evening, and thank you to my dear colleague Juliana from Berlin. She gave me the information about this creative salon. I'm a gestalt therapist, clinical psychologist, and my poem is about the experience with my partner. From last year, we had COVID. I was negative and his mom died. So 3 different experiences actually. So I will read the poem where I am sharing my very deep intimacy about the situation. My co-body with April 2021. From today, my partner is with COVID label on his shirt. He's marked like radioactive. Oh my God, I'm so afraid from him. I'm so afraid from him. My body is pulling me back from him. He became a stranger to me suddenly. I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed from myself. I'm very kind and caring, but only on the phone. Only on the phone. Have an urgent need to ask my inner self, am I sick? Am I sick? And my body starts to imitate his co-body fit. My neural mirrors start to scream, you're sick, you're sick. Oh, my inner child is frozen. Without fight, without flight. Where is my inner mom? Where is my inner mom? Somatic voices from my ancestors through my dreams are calming down. Shh, you're fine. Shh, you're fine. On my body boundary, I have a wall. In front of the wall, I have a dog guardians. I can feel them. Oh, I can feel them. And finally, he's clean. Corona just made a parade inside the cells. And we are both alive. We are both alive. So, goodbye, my co-body fit. That was my poem, and I want to add just one sentence that during the curfew, I was stuck in my flat, and I have a fantasy that one day I will have a house and I will be out in my garden, and I will be free to breathe, not stuck inside. And I want to share with you that I start to build in reality my house, and I will move in, I think, for a few months. And the COVID pushed me to create my house. So, so that for me, that is the gift from COVID, and somehow I can say the gift. Yeah.
Oh, it's so, Tina, that's so beautiful. You know, it makes you think too. I've been thinking this, like when this is all over, you know, how have we changed? How have we, you know, how have we grown even? How are we different? I think about that a lot, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think without COVID, I will not push myself to do so big project. So thank you all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so next we have Dina Harris. Dina. Is Dina here?
Hi, yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I didn't realize I was next. Am I starting or are we putting up the pictures? I could talk first.
Oh, okay. Well, we're doing something different tonight with Dina because she has some paintings that she's going to show us. So Ellen, how do you want to do this? Do you want to?
I'll explain just really briefly who I am and how they came about. I'm a psychiatrist. I am in New York for the most part. And I started painting a bit before. And I have to say that the pandemic and meeting Bonnie and another group I became a part of has just really, for me, helped me grow in my painting. And it was such a mixed time with kind of constant fear in the beginning where my husband and daughter both were emergency room physicians and were on the front lines of COVID and coming home. And I didn't know what they're bringing in. And meanwhile, I got to work from Zoom, which at first was very strange for me and then became sort of a luxury because I got to paint in my studio between patients. And so these are 3 paintings I did during COVID. I could tell you about them as they go up or just mention them all now. One.
Ellen, do you want to? Oh, yeah, here it comes.
Okay. So this one was early on when I started really worrying about not seeing my patients below the neck. And it was wonderful to hear that poem just earlier. And I found myself sort of stuck, like constantly thinking, what am I doing? What's becoming of psychiatry, of analysis, my patients, what am I? Anyhow, so I painted this early on, and I call it Thinking, kind of after Rodin's Thinker, I guess. These are all oils, by the way, and I have the luxury of having a pretty big studio in New York City. In my daughter's room. She's gone off and lives in Brooklyn now. This was the third, I think, of the ones that are going to be up. But I finally, when I really adjusted to Zoom and realized that I could go anywhere, I went up to the country where we have a house and I was walking incessantly. That was my one outdoor thing. And I, without the masks. And this is a farm down the street, down the road near us called Pegaso Farm. And I was starting to play around with different colors and influences, and the seasons were changing, and I just was feeling a little more optimistic about everything. This was in the height of things where my only getting outside was taking long walks, and I walk in Central Park almost every day. And actually this painting, I kind of love it now because it originally had my friend that I would meet and walk with all the time, Marlene. And I didn't like how the painting looked with her in it, right on the top of the bridge. So I took her out, but I kind of left her shadow. And then at the end of that walk, she realized that her red purse that she carried all the time was missing. And I retraced our steps. I ran around the reservoir and I actually could not find it. But then she went back home and somebody had found it right on this bridge where we had been walking. So, and delivered it to her front door. So this is Central Park walking, and Marlene's purse is sort of there under the snow. And it looks like a little blood too. It's kind of a whatever you want it to be.
Thank you. Hey, thank you. Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
What do you think about painting? Like, did you feel you needed to paint when you were, by yourself and not going out?
Now I do. Now I am painting all the time. And I think I was needing to get to that point where I used to always just dabble because my real job and who I was an analyst and a psychiatrist. And I have to say the pandemic has helped me decide that I'm an artist, and that's really what I want to do. And I don't mind the Zoom so much because I'm freer. And it's kind of opened up a new next step for me.
Great. Thanks so much, Dina, for sharing that.
Thank you.
So nice to see some paintings, some beautiful paintings.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have Ashley Leeds. Ashley.
Hi, I'm Ashley Leeds. I'm a psychotherapist in Brooklyn. Bonnie, thank you again for having me this year. And I'm also a training analyst at NIT, so hi, Alan. And the piece I'm going to be reading is called Coming of Age. I had been counting time in inches of hair and number of acquired and discarded masks, the way one might count tree rings or birthdays in other more fruitful years, where I might have hit milestones just right. But it is this year in which I feel utter despair, when I have to toss the smallest something that cannot be reused, recycled, or regenerated, while watching Earth atrophy in real time, with commercial breaks for megalomaniacally waged nuclear war. But I could change the channel to reality television to watch real people consensually spar for scripted sport, to be paid in demoralizing fame, or divert to an enviously self-loathing scroll through Instagram, to watch my aesthetically appropriate peers troll or toil, but not touch or tap into texture of a person-to-person encounter that might revive and evolve the human condition. But for some reason, it is important to be vigilant about dental health when I wake in the afternoon, because I still have not grown into a circadian rhythm. I wear my prom dress to weddings in the name of anti-capitalism, but in the vein of, it still fits. And I sit atop the highest throne of the cis and straight and white, but I am not female enough to feign youth and just smile pretty in the minuscule window between virginal and canceled, yet I am tasked with the privilege of guide to the deconstruction and assembly of the impossible, and I am every piece all at once alongside the priceless, excruciating teachings of days of complicitly trudging through the wish-forgotten detritus of someone else's but nary my mistakes, to wake again at a time inopportune and out of sync with the God-forsaken world orbit, to be exactly the same assemblage of parts and corpus as when I felt the freedom facsimile in squandered youth, to roll my eyes toward the proverbial oyster I was promised at the tender age of before Facebook, to arrive at the precipice of middle age, to only ask, what time do you have?
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. Nice to see you. So we have next Eileen Goldman in Illinois.
I'm muted. I was the one who did that. Sorry about that. This is a flash memoir that grew out of the same class that Adele was writing for. It's called The Nose Knows. It was a night like any other. Charlotte didn't have a ton of homework, so we were watching television. She asked if we could have popcorn in her uncanny way, exactly halfway through the program. I set the aluminum popper over the high flame, poured in the vegetable oil, added the kernels, and cranked the handle. Kernels plinked against the side as the wire turned, sliding in the oil, then plink, plink, pop. As the popping sped up, Charlotte came in to pour water and melt butter. I cranked more slowly, then stepped away, like I always do, to scrounge up something sweet for Philippe. Chatting with Charlotte, I didn't hear the popcorn stop popping. From the other room, Philippe called, "Hey, what's burning?" The popcorn. The popcorn was burning, and I couldn't smell it. We threw it out and all ate cookies that had no flavor. The next day, the world learned that anosmia is a key symptom of COVID. I tested positive 24 hours later. That was 100 weeks ago.
100 weeks ago. Amazing.
I can smell now, in case you're worried.
So you were early, you got COVID pretty early. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you. Eileen Goldman. Oh, thank you. Larry.
Yes, hi. But Eileen Goldman was up next.
Yes. The nose knows. She went already.
Okay. Then let me say I'm Larry Balter. I'm a psychologist and psychoanalyst in New York City. I was trained in NYU's postdoc program. And I've written haiku. My presentation will be haiku. They're very brief, so my intro is probably longer than the presentation. But I've written haiku for a long time, but usually for personal use. So I didn't start writing them for the pandemic, but it was really good timing in a way because we were in lockdown. I was feeling very isolated, and long form writing was out of the question because it was too hard to concentrate. I guess like most everybody, I was really preoccupied and very anxious, about the pandemic. So for me, writing them served like they were both a distraction and an emotional release. Incidentally, and for those of you who aren't so familiar with haiku, the samurai warriors wrote haiku, and they wrote them for similar reasons. For emotional release, take their minds off dealing with horrible things that they were going to be involved in. And that it's a few things that, let me say this by way of introduction, that appeal to me about haiku. One is, for those of you who have some experience with haiku, there's an immediacy to haiku. You kind of seize the moment. Then there's a structure to it. It's a 5-7-5 syllable, which makes for a challenge. It's also very prescriptive, and I like that. They're concise, and I like brevity. For many years, I wrote for magazines like Ladies Home Journal and Family Circle, and I appeared on TV doing a lot of stuff. And there, you just didn't have a choice. They told you, you got 1,800 words, you got to get the point across. So 750 words, you got to get the point across. You have 1:30, to tell the story. So there's something about that being so concise and the brevity that I like. It's also a projection of your feelings. You put a mood onto a scene in nature, because that's what haiku is supposed to be about. And that feeling then gets evoked in the person who's reading the haiku. So last thing I want to say is I wrote a lot of haikus, but I just chose these for this salon. And they reflect my feelings, but on different days during the fall season, during the pandemic. They're not in the order I wrote them. Each one represents a real experience that I had, an actual experience. So when I mentioned about a last rose in the garden behind the Jefferson Market, there was really a rose there. And the flower pots that I mentioned were really on my terrace. And let me just end by saying, I'm not really an optimist by nature, but I'd like to think that we're under siege in so many ways that maybe some of these little haikus can give us a smidgen of some hopefulness. Anyway, so here I go. There are 5 of them, by the way. 1, it's called Haiku Autumn Days. 1, foliage in fall, colors turning, burning bright, crispness in the air. 2, unrelenting rain, drops flooding the flower beds, gathering puddles. 3, dry and calm weather. It's unseasonably warm, soft, nurturing soil. 4, scarlet and showy, tucked safely behind the fence, last rose of summer. 5, for the year ahead, clipping wisteria pods, morning glory seeds. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Thank you. Thanks for teaching us a little bit how to. Thank you. Okay. You know, Adam Schechter.
Yes, here I am.
Hi.
Hi.
So do you want to introduce, wait, so it's Alita, right? Alita?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Should
Right. So
should I clarify the background of the situation since it's a
Yes.
little complicated?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. So it's a little complicated. My name is Adam Schechter. I'm a poet and a psychotherapist, native New Yorker, though living in Hastings on Hudson now, working there too. In the beginning of the pandemic, my colleague Mikey Engelin, who lives in London, asked if I wanted to send some emails back and forth about what it was like to live and work and write and just be a therapist poet at that time. So we sent emails back and forth, and the product of it was turned into a paper published in the UK journal Psychodynamic Practice. So it's a bit of a time capsule of that immediate moment when everyone went into lockdown. Unfortunately, as it turns out, Mikey fell ill. So she's unable to attend tonight, but Alita Kuhlman has generously agreed to read her part. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right, great. Here's my part. What a terrible thing to be forced to be on Zoom. Terrible to be forced into that horrible rectangle of light and sound. Is it more of a force or a field? It says it transmits, but does it? What is it transmitting? A hyperbole of words on a screen or controlled visuals on the 2 dimensions of flat glass? Muted sound? Sound neutered of its physical context? Where is its visceral underpinning? In the dark somewhere? Where have all those splashing vibrations of the innards gone? Where's that energy of the tears, the soundless tears of pain? Where is that suffocating feeling of frustration when two people sit together and one doesn't want to talk? Even that is muffled on the screen. Zoom is a parody. It mocks communication with its pristine geometry of light. Its safety is dangerous. We are deprived, and left alone in that deprivation, there are collapses.
Zoom and zoom out. Zoof, zoof. It reminds of a children's TV program that I'd liked as a child about the daily news told by forest animals, the owl being the newsreader and the hare, zoof, zoof, going around to collect stories, the reporter. Their name was Zoof the hare, and often comes to my mind when I am on Zoom. One of my patients on Zoom mutes himself and starts sign language. Another one mutes herself and demands I can read her lips. Feeling deaf came up a lot this week, wanting to not listen to the online lessons, having parents called by teachers if they turn their camera off anyway. A lot of intense boredom. Indeed, on both sides, them and me. When can I come back to see you? Is my box all right? I am sure you see others in the room. I hate you for this. My parents do not want me to leave the house. They are mad. What would happen if we all die? I can't even have the comfort of playing my video games because I can't stand my computer anymore. But in one session, I was eye to eye, the closest we came to a black hole. My very young patient brought her eye as close to the camera as she could and wanted me to do the same. And so, with not being able to see, we started to see something of her fears of disappearing and her anxiety about losing her parent who was traveling away from her. She told me about the black hole in her eye, the hole that made her see things, scary things sometimes. Did I understand?
Thank you. Thank you, Alita, for filling in. You did a great job filling in. Thank you. And Adam, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. It's really wonderful to be here.
Thank you, everybody. I wanted to thank all the presenters. I wanted to thank Alan Topia for all of his work. I wanted to thank the audience who has been here and NIP for sponsoring this. So I know it's getting late and I want to make sure everyone can, especially people in Europe, to be able to.
Wow. Yeah.
So, hey, so.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Bonnie, for doing this.
Oh, look at you. Hi, Ingrid.
Hi.
Hi. You
I
present.
don't know how you are doing. It's magic. It's like I managed for a little while to forget about the war and to feel some warmth in my heart because of you. And it's happening every year I'm coming here.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Hi. We have some great people here tonight, right? Thank you for being.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie, for letting me know about this event.
Oh
It's
my
been
God.
wonderful.
Hi. The great
It's been very
professor and poet. Why don't you tell us you're a poet?
What's that?
You're a poet, right? You're a beautiful poet.
Yes, I write poetry.
USC, at USC, right?
Yeah, I directed the writing program there.
Wow.
But it was just so, first of all, enlightening, and it just absolutely moved me, so much of the work, so many of these very personal statements. And I also, have had the good fortune to read with some of the wonderful Ukrainian poets in the past.
Oh, really?
in Kiev and also in Moscow and other places. So I've really paid attention to what's happening there. As you remember, I had done that reading in 1985 with Bob Dylan and Seamus Haney for Gorbachev.
Oh, wow.
And
That's amazing.
so I had the chance to meet all of those people. So poetry did tonight what I expected it would do. It not just enlightened, but it moved and it touched. And I wanted to let you know, I appreciate
so
it.
much. We came to your house for a reading.
I know.
Was it Yevtushenko?
With Yevtushenko himself, yeah. Yes, exactly.
That was impressive. Well, thank you so much. It's
And
so
I miss you and miss Paul and miss all your children. That's wonderful.
Oh.
And I appreciate it. I just want to let you know that I really was enjoying this and stayed with it. And I really do understand the people who are in Europe right now, where my daughter is in London and all.
Oh my God.
And they stayed up and I appreciate it.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for saying hi.
Not at all. I didn't know whether you knew I was watching it all.
I didn't. I couldn't.
Okay.
I really didn't see anybody. I don't really know who's here. I just.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Hi. Oh my God, Gabrielle. Thank you for staying up so late. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's a gift. It's a gift. It's a pleasure. It's beautiful being here with you. It's nothing much more beautiful than this.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. You'll have to come to New York sometime.
Let's hope we will meet one day in person.
Oh, that would be great. Sam is still up. Look, Sam.
Yeah. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Bonnie, for this invitation. I thought it was an on-time event last year, but thank you for reaching out. And I'm also aware of the new things coming up. I don't know. I think there needs to be more forums for people to breathe out and get settled with the issues that are coming up. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Bye. Bye.
Wow. So I guess we thanked everybody, but special thanks to the presenters. The work is so beautiful. Your work is so beautiful. Every year, like last year was so beautiful, and now this year is so beautiful. I'm so lucky. I feel so lucky. And I get to see Terry. I've never met you, but I've read all your things, and we definitely have spoken on email. Very creative man.
It's a pure pleasure. A pure pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Wow.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Bonnie. It's been wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. One day we can all come together, right? One day. That'd be wonderful.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, hi. Good. So,
thank you, everyone, and thank you. Good night.
Oh, you're still up. Hi. I loved your music and your poem. Thank you. Yes. Oh, hi. Thank you for filling in. You did a great job at stepping in there. Wow. It's so hard to say goodbye.
I know.
Well, our creativity has to live, right? Our creativity has to be heard. It has to be respected. It has to be out there, and we have to do it. We just have to do it. And especially in this hard time when, we can't have theater. We don't have theater. We can't go to the opera house across the street. I can't go to the ballet. I haven't been to the theater. I love the theater. I haven't been there.
You will.
Yeah, maybe we will. So I guess we say goodbye.
Bye for now.
Until next year.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Bonnie.